God or Jesus Christ.
Okay, which one though? You gotta pick. No, you gotta pick. You can't say both.
The historical one. That's the one I picked.
Oh, the historical one.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you want to talk about? The historical.
Do you believe in him? And if not, why?
Believe it? Was there a historical human being named Jesus? Probably.
Yeah, not probably.
Yeshua.
He's the most attested person in history. If we know any facts about history, we know him as a fact.
If we know any facts about history. Okay.
He's the best fact of history.
He's the best fact of history.
Yeah, we know less about Alexander the Great, Plato, and all of these other philosophers that you say they existed.
I didn't say they existed. What makes someone attested by fact?
There are accounts of them in antiquity. You see how we measure antiquity different from how we measure science and
somebody said something about them. From
I mean, not just somebody, multiple somebodies.
Okay,
that have no reason to
name
collaborate.
someone who said something
about Jesus Christ.
About Yeshua,
Yeshua al-Mashiach.
You said the historical.
Yeah.
Right, that was the point. We talked
Yeshua
about the historical
al-Mashiach.
person.
Yeah.
So that's very different than necessarily Jesus Christ, who wouldn't have been called that.
What do you mean? Are you going?
Well, dude, maybe
are you going name fallacy as well, like because of the name?
No, I'm just saying he wouldn't have been called by a Greek name.
Okay, let's go with the Aramaic name. He wasn't Greek. He was not Greek. He was Jewish.
Huh?
He wasn't Greek. He was Jewish.
Right. So he wouldn't have been called by a Greek name.
I don't know where you're getting at here. Now
you just gave him a Greek name.
Are you going to let me speak?
Sure, as long as we talk about the historical.
I am. You see
Yeshua.
how the beginning of your sentence should not be halfway through mine. So if I'm answering your question, let me answer, please. If you're going by name fallacy, the name Jesus Christ, we get it from the Greek because of the transliteration. It still means Yeshua. If you want to go to Yeshua in Aramaic, if you want to go a little bit further, in Hebrew, it's Yahushua. So even before the name got to him, it got transliterated. So even in the Greek or in the Latin, in Yoruba, we call him Jesu. It doesn't change the person. The person is still an historical person. But if you want me to talk about the historical account of him, I'm not, other than the primary historical account of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John that we have, or the writings of the New Testament that we have. Let me land. We also have Tacitus. We have the writings of the Romans saying that he died under Pontius Pilate. We have Josephus, and we have the Talmud that attest to Jesus Christ having followers upon this time. So this is the thing is, critics have zero reason to collaborate within your conspiracies. The Jews were not followers Josephus, and the writers of the Talmud were not followers of Jesus, but yet even if they insult him, they attested that he existed in reality. So this is evidence that proves that Jesus is a real man in antiquity. Do you have anything against that?
I'd like to start with some of the things you said, if that's okay. But also, if you're Yoruban?
Yoruba, yeah.
Baba Mana Yoruba.
Nice.
You said it was attested by certain people.
People wrote about him.
But you had said at the time, you said it would have been either, I think you said Aramaic, Yeshua.
Yeshua, in Hebrew, Yahushua.
So who's the first person to write down, attest to him, the name Yeshua or Yehoshua?
The name, I mean, when...
It's certainly not Matthew.
Matthew wrote in Hebrew and in Greek. In Hebrew and Greek. There are some of Matthew's writings are in Hebrew, right?
Available, I'm not sure. But
no, as in like when he was writing, someone...
Eusebius says that he wrote a gospel in Hebrew first.
Thanks. Matthew wrote in Hebrew and in Greek, so if Matthew is writing the account of Jesus in Hebrew, he would use the Hebrew name, not the Greek name. So if
I actually agree with that. Here's the problem.
So where's your argument with that?
Here's the problem. There is no attested Matthew written in Hebrew or Aramaic. It's not. It doesn't exist. So just by your own argument,
what do you mean it doesn't exist?
What we have is a Greek.
We have lost translations. We have lost texts.
I have a lot of lost things. Okay, I can tell you, I've lost a cajillion.
He's trying to do the whole name fallacy.
It doesn't mean I have a cajillion dollars.
Problem with that. Greek was the lingua franca.
I'm trying to tell him, but this guy. Okay.
Well, so far what we have is a book that says, I believe it says, according to Matthew. Which is written in Greek. That it was written down by someone, probably not Matthew, but let's say even if Matthew.
Who says it's according to?
Well, it says at the beginning according to Matthew.
No, it just says Matthew's name.
It doesn't say by Matthew.
That part is...
Kata is according to or by.
Oh, okay, according to.
Yeah,
okay.
but...
Sounds familiar. sounds like I just said that.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
But
I
it's
can
in
concede
Gr-
on
but
that.
it's in Greek.
I can concede on that. Even if it's in Greek.
So all we
So
have attested
can
to now
someone
is
not
that we
write-
don't have it attested to in Hebrew
What do you
and
mean?
Aramaic.
He's trying to say that because it says according to Matthew, we still don't know
No,
who
I
wrote it.
don't
In what-
believe it was written by Matthew. But even
How do you
were it
know
written
that?
by
How do you
Matthew,
know that?
It's in Greek.
What's wrong with that? It's the lingua franco. I'm Yoruba. If I want to write a text to my Yoruba friends that are living in London, I'll write it in English because English is the lingua franco over here. So if Greek was the lingua franco upon that time, for them to best spread the message, they'll write it in Greek, right? What would it be the point of writing it in Aramaic?
I mean, it's how I believe the historical person, as you said, would have been referred to as Yeshua, or
Yeah, but writing
It would have been
about
referred to
about
as-
him in a different language, why does that stop him from being historical?
All I'm saying is he has not been attested to even in his own language at the time at which
What is that-
existed.
what is
He's
that-
attested at a later time
By his own people, right?
According
By his own people.
Where it doesn't say written by Matthew, it says
No, the
according-
disciples wrote it.
it says
We know the
according to
church-
Matthew
we know the
in
historic-
Greek.
apologies.
We don't know that he wrote it. What we know is that
That's fine. We do know that he wrote it because we have the church tradition that know who wrote what. Especially at the time when persecution was high. Even if you read in the text, you will see like there are certain things that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John indicates so that you can go to this person for eyewitness. Like a number of the gospel says the women went to the tomb. One of the gospel says Mary Magdalene was one of the women, just so that the people around town will know that, hey, we can go to Mary Magdalene for an eyewitness account whilst they're reading the text. But the text is written, and the people know who's writing it. So when the text is being passed around to anyone around, they know that, hey, we just got a letter from Paul. We just got a letter from Matthew. We just got the gospel of this person. They don't have to write their name in it, especially in that time period as well. People write things, they don't really attest it to themselves. They write it in third person. The Gaelic War, I can't remember who wrote it. Google it. The Gaelic War, written by, I can't remember, it's a Roman emperor. He wrote it in third person, didn't say his name in it. The name is written in it, but he wrote it in third person, not necessarily in first person. But yet we know that he's the one who wrote it.
Okay,
This is a
you
writing.
believe the written attestations, let's just say written by Matthew in Greek, were written prior to the letter to the Thessalonians by Paul, the Apostle Paul.
I'm not really sure about that, but Paul started writing his letters first. The writing of Matthew in Greek was.
As many helpers as you need. Which you think was attested written first? A letter to the Thessalonians, the epistle by the Apostle Paul, or the Greek version of according to Matthew?
Thessalonians.
So that was written down. So do you agree with them or not? Because
I agree with him. I said I don't know. I agree. I don't.
No one disagrees with
Okay,
that.
okay, good.
Well, the text was written in the first century.
So the best attestation evidence that has been presented so far, not by me, but by this fine gentleman, is the Gospel according to Matthew, written by Matthew in.
No, I would say that I didn't say that's the only evidence
I
I
didn't say the
provided.
only. I said the best one so far.
The primary text, yeah,
Right,
is
primary
the,
text. Okay,
is
but however,
the
we just
gospel.
learned that the first written thing, or something earlier, I don't necessarily first, is a letter to the Thessalonians by the Apostle Paul. No,
But do you know what the letter to the Thessalonians contains?
I'm always happy to be educated, but what I am saying is that it was written by Paul.
That's fine.
Right? Okay. Now, other than on the route to Damascus, if you believe such a thing, when would Paul have met this Greek name Jesus, Aramaic name Yeshua, Hebrew name Yehoshua?
I mean, he didn't meet him personally, but he met him on the road to Damascus. But he was at the time when his followers started springing in worship rapidly. So he was he was there when Stephen was being stoned, and he was one of the Jews, the Pharisees that was killing Christians. So he was alive during the time period of Jesus. Doesn't have to have met him, but on the road to Damascus he met him.
Okay,
so that makes the argument.
Okay, so good. So now we've got established a few things. We've established that the written attestation, according to Matthew, in Greek, comes after.
Okay, let me debunk this.
Paul.
Let me debunk
Let me
this.
just go through the
Yeah.
timeline you've admitted to. after the letter to the Thessalonians, okay, and that Paul, the first time he met the Greek name Jesus, the Aramaic name Yeshua, the Hebrew name Yehoshua, was on the road to Damascus. He didn't meet him before that, at which point was sometime after what is reported to be the crucifixion by the Romans, and therefore the first written attestation we've talked about so far is by someone who met
If you're saying,
the ghost or the spirit.
What's the hang up on the name?
We're moved on from the name now because he conceded on that.
I'm just trying to get at everything.
Okay,
So the first written
that's even fine. That's even fine.
These are your words, by the way.
The eyewitness accounts are going to be primary source because these are people that met Jesus. And from our conversation, we already attested that Paul was not necessarily an eyewitness account, but he, as you would put it, the ghost of Jesus. He met Jesus on the road to Damascus. Even if he wrote what's the book again that you said, Thessalonian.
The letter to the Thessalonians.
Yeah,
even
if you wrote that first off, he's writing in how the church, the people can conduct themselves. He's not writing an eyewitness account. So the primary source to know about Jesus is still Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Great. So now we'll go back to the original claim. The original claim, which I've here and I believe I will now have fully debunked, is that the Greek name of Jesus, Aramaic name of Yeshua, the Hebrew name of Yehoshua, is the most attested to person in history. And yet, the very first written account of him so far that we've discussed, the first written account, which you've agreed to so far, is Thessalonians by someone who never met him until after he died.
What? That's still within the Christian
I can
faith.
assure you there are other people in history who were real-time attested to their existence while they were still alive.
Like who?
I'm talking that's within the church. I'm not talking about outside.
No, I'm still
So what?
here.
I don't get. Wait, I'm still
here. I'm happy to pick
I
my
really
mic
apologize.
back up.
I really don't get the argument here. If the first eyewitness account is the Gospels, and then Paul writes a letter before the Gospels, and he gives it to a church, that's fine. Paul could have written the letter, but the first eyewitness account, the primary eyewitness account, is going to be the Gospels. This is still within the church. I don't get where you're misconstruing. Are you just lingering on the first written text about this person?
I'm actually just the most attested to in history. So far, has no written accounts during their life. Nothing written during.
It doesn't
their life.
have to be during their life.
Well, I would suggest in.
You know what Plato said? Plato said it is best to not write things. It's best to memorize. This was 300 years before.
I didn't say it was
I know, but you're making it as if like writing an account of someone is the only way you can attest to them. We only know about Plato because of Aristotle. You know, so Aristotle is the one that started writing all of the theses about Plato. Otherwise, we know nothing about Plato. Anything that we know about Julius Caesar, about Alexander the Great, these come 100 years after. But yet we say these people are historical people. Jesus Christ, you've already conceded and said Paul, that was within the lifetime of Jesus Christ, was the first to write about him. Yes, the first attestation, that's fine. But the way to know about the primary source about Jesus is via the eyewitness account, which is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, which were also within the time period of Jesus. So this whole manuscript debunking, I don't really see it.
So
it's still a historical Christian historical account.
The single claim that I believe I still have already debunked, but I'll do it again, is that he's the most attested to person in history.
Yeah.
In ancient history.
No, in all of history.
And what I'm suggesting is, let's say Julius Caesar, let's say Augustus Caesar, let's say these ancient leaders who have multiple real-time written attestations of their existence while they were still alive.
No, they weren't.
Well, they built buildings.
Who wrote about Julius Caesar during his time?
Well, during the time of Julius Caesar, he ruled. Who
wrote about him? Because we're talking about attestation.
Let me put it this way.
Who wrote about Alexander the Great during his time? Alexander the Great was about 400 years began account.
You're suggesting that the
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and Paul,
the buildings and the construction with the just sort of the name that it was built by them. All these things would be written attestation of their existence.
Some of them, yeah.
There's a book about them.
Some of them, yeah. Some of the buildings made about this person.
I'm suggesting is it to suggest that the most attested to person in ancient history, nothing written about them denies the existence of ancient history Or people were attested to them because they built stuff at the time.
You see how let me not devalidate your argument. Let me not debunk your argument.
More attested to than someone who was only attested to.
Now,
never.
Let me debunk his argument regarding his evidence that he's bringing. Okay, if you're saying the statues that were around the time of Julius Caesar attest to him. Let me land, sir. I'm still speaking. If they attest to him, according to his time, we have Jesus's the eyewitness account. They were writing upon that time, and the tree that Jesus died, we still have it. We have the house of the Mother of God, which is we still have all of these historical accounts of where Jesus reside. We have. Where do you want to go with this?
Let's go to the one of accounts of Jesus.
If you're looking for archaeological findings,
I'm trying to give.
You're going back to the name.
Yeah, because I want to give you a choice of all three names.
No, I don't need to have a choice of all three names. All three names are right.
While he was alive,
all three names are right.
While he was alive,
someone who wrote him Yeshua. Why they wrote about him? They call him Jesus in the Greek. But before he was apologies. Before he was born, the name Jesus was Yahushua. So I don't get where your argument is going with this transliteration.
So who attested to him when he was alive?
His disciples in Greek.
The disciples in Greek, or the or the are you?
We're not talking about the first. We're talking about the disciples. Eyewitness account. That
like James, like James or Yaakov would have been his
James wrote after, but James wrote about him as well. He's a cousin or a brother of Jesus.
Okay, there are but he didn't. He wrote about him after. I'm trying to say
after doesn't matter.
While he was alive.
It doesn't have to. Who has to write about you while you're alive? It doesn't have to be while you're alive.
Attested to person would have been written about when they were alive. Because there are other people.
No, they don't have to.
We know they existed.
That's not how his story works. It doesn't. Okay, so the only way we know about him if someone writes about him now. If on 100 years,
right now,
100 years,
I'm attested to.
This is okay. Cool, that's fine. He's saying that because someone is not writing about you during the time when you're alive, then you can't exist. Because the disciples didn't write about Jesus Christ during the time he was alive, doesn't mean he doesn't exist. They can write about him after. This is what we call eyewitness account. When you go to court, the court is not going to say, oh, let's bring the incident to happen now. No, they're going to say what happened and what was your eyewitness account. That's how we prove that the incident happened. I don't get where you're going with the argument, sir.
What I'm suggesting is an account after the existence. It's not real time. Is not the same quality of attestation of real time when alive. That's the only claim I make.
Do you want to talk about real time while he was alive, or even before he was alive? Do you want to talk about that?
No, I don't want to get into before he was alive.
Before can make the argument.
Different kind of
before can make the argument.
Different kind of attestation.
Yeah, it's prophecy, right? So that proves a claim, right? If the prophecy is the claim, and Jesus proves and
definitely am not going to talk about
if the prophecy is, I am the prophet written about in Isaiah, and Jesus proves that claim to be that prophet written in Isaiah by saying it, then there is attestation about Jesus Christ even before Jesus was born.
I will take it as a victory that the attestation of his existence, the prophecy before his existence, I will take that as full proof that the attestation needs some support from prophecy from the book of Yeshaya in Hebrew. I believe you called it
Yeshaya. That's not the name, by the way. But I mean, we can leave it there. It was a nice conversation. I can get a little passionate, but sometimes I don't get where it was going with this. Historical account doesn't work in the way where how he wants to see it, where it has to be verbatimly when the person existed, or verbatimly in this language that the person lived in. No, I already said I am Nigerian Yoruba. If I'm speaking to my Nigerian Yoruba friends, especially when I'm texting them, I don't have to text them in Yoruba. I can just text them in English, because this is the common language of the land, the lingua franco. So in the time of Jesus Christ, he himself would have been speaking Aramaic, primarily Hebrew because he's reading the scriptures, and Greek because he spoke to a number of Greek people. So once the disciples want to now spread the word upon the whole world, it wouldn't make much sense to only write it in Aramaic. That is a language that not much people know about. If you want to appeal to the Gentiles, write in Greek. That was the common language of the land. It will spread a lot more. I don't get where he wants to say where he's going by. Oh, it has to be written around this time. And even so, he brought Paul. Paul attested to Jesus Christ, even though Paul never met Christ physically. Paul attested to Jesus Christ before the Gospels were written. You know why Paul attested to Jesus Christ? Because they had an oral tradition about Jesus Christ. So anything Paul is getting is still coming from the disciples who are primary eyewitness account.
Right.
Subhanahu Yeshua El Abral Amin. Glory be to the one true God. Amen.
Oh, Sheikh.